was a proposed change to the makeup of the familiar coal trains of the Hunter Valley which triggered this dispute. The SRA moved to remove guard vans from the train, and as an interim measure have the guards ride in locomotive cabs. At meetings today, executives of the Train Drivers Union slated this, labelling it as a first step towards two-man operation of freight trains, a move which the union says it opposes until technology of rolling stock is improved. The real argument, of course, lies in which union, the ARU, which covers train guards, or the AFULE, which covers the drivers, will ultimately lose a member from the train crew. In spite of this, though, the AFULE denies this is a demarcation dispute.
The State Rail Authority would like to see it as a demarcation dispute, but as far as we're concerned, it is not. It's a dispute between the AFULE and the State Rail Authority.
Do you think having the public caught in the middle in such a dramatic way, with school holidays about to commence, is going to weaken or strengthen your cause?
The unfortunate thing about a proposition of this kind, but ultimately the public's going to suffer. I regret that that's the case, but it doesn't cease to amaze me that the State Rail Authority can find the best time to implement these type of proposals when there's a school holidays pending, or a long weekend pending, or a $3 weekend pending. I think a study of the history of the implementation of State Rail Authority's manning level proposals throughout the system is that that's when they find the best time to implement them.
Premier Rann has accused the striking drivers of being mean-spirited. The opposition leader Nick Greiner said the union's move is unmitigated bastardry. But whoever is ultimately responsible for the timing of the strike, there's no doubting the disruption it has caused. In Sydney this morning, roads were choked in spite of about 10% of workers staying home. Throughout Sydney, parks were turned over to car parking as countless thousands of vehicles crammed the city. The lightning strike caught many travellers by surprise, forcing them to spend the night on railway stations. In Newcastle, the no train signs at railway stations precipitated a rush on commuter airlines. Both East Coast and Aero Pelican have scheduled extra flights. Coaches are also being run between Newcastle and Sydney. The future of the strike now rests on talks between the Engine Drivers Union and the SRA. Those talks are continuing.
The week-long bowling carnival was officially opened today by the Deputy Lord Mayor Alderman Don Geddes. Bowlers from every state in Australia and New Zealand are here to contest the coveted event, and the organisers are looking forward to some close competition. One of the events to watch will be the classic pairs, with reigning champions Don Shoesmith and Barry Salter from Waratah Club defending the title. With 1,000 bowlers competing, the resources of some 50 clubs in the area will be utilised, but all finals will be conducted at the home club of Toronto. Alderman Don Geddes set the bowl rolling just to make sure the carnival got off to a good start.
You'll notice the band. Now you'll notice.
It was only at sundown that the rescue helicopter finally came to rest. At midday it was called to inaccessible bush in Lambs Valley, where a 16-year-old Rutherford youth had been accidentally shot during a hunting expedition. The chopper transported the youth to Maitland Hospital, but was immediately called to rescue a patient from a motorcycle accident at Gosforth near Rutherford. Late in the afternoon, the helicopter flew a patient from Belmont Hospital to Royal North Shore for treatment of spinal injury suffered when he fell from a tree. I asked crewman Terry Cosgrove, how will medical services be affected by the loss of the helicopter?
They have coped in the past, but I think it will be the patient that suffers. There is times like today with the inaccessible area that the young chap from Brankston was caught. It would have taken hours to get him out of there without the chopper, and we did it in less than 20 minutes.
So we could see lives being lost?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. I think that's not a matter for conjecture. That's fact.
From the outside, the new pride and joy of Raymond Terrace looks large, airy and functional. And appearances do not deceive, because natural daylight floods the spacious interior, carefully designed to fulfill as many functions as possible. The centre cost $1.2 million, of which Tomago Aluminium provided $750,000. Centrepiece of the complex is the main stadium, which can seat 150 people and caters for 5 sports: basketball, netball, badminton, volleyball and table tennis. The centre management is also looking towards indoor soccer and lawn bowls. A gymnasium, sauna and spa will soon be installed, and aerobics classes will be offered. When not in demand by the dozens of sporting complexes looking for better facilities, the stadium may well be filled with music. It's been designed with an ear on the acoustics, and there is already a blue light disco planned for next month. The centre also boasts 5 meeting and function rooms catering for up to 900 people. Appropriately, the Department of Health has relocated its offices in the centre, and there are also baby health care and child-minding centres. With all that on offer, it's not surprising that the centre is being hailed as the most exciting thing to happen to Raymond Terrace this century. The game was won and lost in defence. Waratah failed to tackle the Curry players in the first half and so allowed them to gain a winning lead. Curry almost ran at will at times and had a break of 28 points to 2 by half-time. Sean Collingwood was the first to score after receiving a marginal pass. He was followed by centres Darren Boyce and Darren Merritt, who easily beat the defence to register tries. Captain coach Mick Pittman then added his try. Waratah actually won the second half 14-2. There were 2 great tries by winger Steve Robinson and one by Wayne Cole, but it was too late for the Tars to get back into the game, and the final score was 30-16. Meanwhile, the Australian Badminton Carnival was officially opened by the State Treasurer, Mr Ken Booth, at the Badminton Centre in Wickham. Mr Booth and the Deputy Lord Mayor, Alderman Don Geddes, were amongst the official party, who welcomed 70 players from all over the nation. It's a 2-week carnival, the first week being a round-robin competition for the coveted Eve Glendenning Shield. The second week will see a battle for the Australian singles titles.
Increased when
Police and State Emergency Service personnel started searching the area at first light again this morning, although the men are feared to have drowned. Their 5-metre runabout was found wedged against the bank of the river about 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon near Nagalock, 50 kilometres southeast of Mildura. Police say the men, aged 50, 35 and 20, are itinerant workers who moved into the area a month ago from Newcastle. The theory is that the boat got caught on one of the many snags in the fast-flowing river and capsized. Locals say they saw the men having trouble with the outboard motor prior to their disappearance.
A local SES team was called in.
College before
for the past 17 years, Ray Walter has been an associate professor in the university's chemistry department. But his association goes back to the early days of the University College at Tyers Hill.
The fond memories, I think, go back to Tyers Hill, where everybody seemed to know everybody else. The student body was low in numbers, and they seemed to be very keen and motivated and knew where they were going. We were younger, I guess, gave a lot and expected a lot. They were happy days.
Have you had much satisfaction watching the university develop as it has?
Ah, yes, indeed, and I'm very pleased with the way it has developed.
Professor Walker will be remembered for his tireless research into the benefits of copper compounds for rheumatism sufferers. After setting out to disprove the copper bracelet theory, he made an important discovery.
My researches in copper started in 1974, when I set out to prove that wearing a copper bracelet or a copper ring was a myth, an old wives' tale. But surprisingly, after doing a double-blind experiment, it came out 3-1 in favour of the copper having some sort of therapeutic value.
One of Professor Walker's retirement projects is to complete a book on his findings titled The Copper Bracelet Story.
Construction of the project has now been underway since the 14th of this month, and it was only when the bulldozers moved in that residents of Rutleys Road discovered council plans. The YE Progress Association has criticised ward aldermen for not warning them of the development. Last night, their cause was championed by one of those aldermen, Sid Brown, who moved that construction cease and that the council investigate alternative sites. Alderman Brown said natural springs on the construction site would cause the ponds to overflow, polluting the nearby lake. He also expressed concern that it may be a sacred Aboriginal site. In reply, the Chief Health Surveyor said these possibilities had been investigated and dismissed. He also said there was little likelihood of smell from the ponds, a major worry of the residents. After further discussion, Alderman Brown's motion, seconded by Alderman Carley, was defeated. Residents who travelled to council last night to watch the proceedings were very angry.
Mr Pinsent, will the residents stop their fight against the effluent ponds?
No, we definitely won't. The battle has just begun.
Where will you be taking your battle?
To all the necessary government authorities.
Do you believe the assertion of the Chief Health Surveyor that the effluent ponds will not create a smell?
Definitely not. He must walk around with a pig on his nose.
Speaking for the YE Progress Association today, Mr Ted Mead said members were very disappointed. He said the association would investigate two possibilities: asking the Department of Health to prevent construction or taking legal action.
This region has needed this shopping centre for donkey's years, and it became a great tug of war. It was almost going to be against the interest of the people if this shopping centre was put at Batto Bay.
The new complex, which cost more than $30 million and just over 26 weeks to build, features 65 specialty shops, including a super-Kmart department store, supermarket, and Best and West. For the gourmets, the centre boasts a tempting range of food stores, from a fruit and vegetable market and confectionery bars, and to the fashion centre, a staggering range of boutiques catered to the latest fashion trends.
The Bay Village Shopping Centre has attracted a huge crowd for its opening day. And if public reaction is anything to go by, it promises to continue to be a great success. Think of the new centre.
Oh, it's good. It's unreal.
I think it's very exciting. Been looking forward to it for a long while.
Really good. Yeah, it's real good.
What's your favourite shop?
The ice cream parlour.
Ice cream parlour.
However, not everyone who attended today's opening was able to have quite so much fun.
It'll do the business, but I hate them.
Terry Butler for Leichhardt, dispossessed there by Joe Senkowski.
Just minutes into the game,
Simon Brand,
Senkowski burst down the centre of the field
and hooked off the line there
by
Mark Brown.
From the ensuing corner by Dean Milosevic, striker Derek Todd scored Rosebudd's first goal.
And Newcastle take the lead.
Newcastle's second goal
can hit them from here.
Kick, with Joe Senkowski clearing the Leichhardt wall.
So Senkowski, 2-0 for Newcastle. Joe Senkowski.
The remainder of the match was a torrid affair, with both sides having opportunities to put points on the board.
The match went sour in the dying stages when Leichhardt midfielder Peter Trudzinnik was sent off after fouling Simon Grant. And as if that win wasn't enough good news for Newcastle soccer fans, it seems likely the cup final between Rosebud and Melbourne, Croatia, on the night of the 12th of September, will be played in Newcastle. This morning, the chairman of the Harker Oval Board, Alderman Alma Tate, said the cricket team that is now entitled to use the Oval has agreed to step aside for the cup final. Rosebud Club Secretary Ernie Lamb held talks with NSL officials in Sydney today and says he's confident the NSL will make Newcastle the venue. However, the league decision won't be made until next week.
Mr Cohen said the provision of better office facilities, like the new CES office in Margaret Street, was part of an ongoing program to modernise the Commonwealth Employment Service. He said although the unemployment level had been gradually reduced, it was still unacceptably high, and he called on local businesses to do their bit to improve the outlook.
I urge all those employers here today, and indeed all employers on the Central Coast, to examine their operation and see whether any new employment or training opportunities can be created. Those that can help should contact CES staff here today to inquire about assistance.
Management says were badly needed and has enabled the centre to run a variety of programs involving the unemployed. The Melbourne Central Office Manager for CES, Mr Kevin Fitzgerald, said the trend for present and future projects at Wyong and other centres would be towards encouraging apprenticeship schemes.
We will be trying to encourage employers to look at their workforce and to determine how many apprentices they need, and hopefully make use of the government's programs where subsidies are paid for taking on additional apprentices.
With 6,800 unemployed people on its books, Wyong CES already has its work cut out. However, its management believes the job will be made that much easier by the spacious new office facilities.
A meeting of combined women's groups at the Trades Hall was unanimous in its support for the Premier's legislation. While one of the meeting's aims was to increase awareness of the legislation, which bans excessively violent pornographic videos, the major aim was to maintain pressure on the state and federal governments to keep the videos out of the country. MLA Elizabeth Kirby addressed today's meeting and stressed the public is not aware of the real content of X-rated videos.
I think what people are getting confused, that the videos that we were shown in State Parliament, or the clips that we were shown by the Chief Film Censor, Miss Janet Strickland, are not pornography in the sense that people really understand pornography. And the problem is that these are much more vicious, more cruel, more sadistic, and many of them, particularly the snuff movies, actually show people not just being sexually assaulted, but I mean in fact being murdered.
How effective do you think Premier Rand's legislation will be?
I would applaud him for saying that the legislation needs to be uniform in every state, because otherwise these tapes are going to be prepared in one state and then sold over the border in another state,